Welcome back. This is Wisconsin Shoe Guy, and today we're going to take a look at a pair of shoes by Enzo Bonafe, or Bonafe, which is, and I apologize to Enzo for mispronouncing his name. As I look at these, this is the 2745 model. Now, I thought it would be interesting to actually show a couple different versions of this model. So I have this version, which is in hatch grain, this version, which is in bourbon hatch shell cordovan, and this pair, which is in bronze hatch shell cordovan. And there are a few differences to these shoes, and I want to point them out as we talk through the review. Some of the pieces may apply to some of the shoes and not all, so I want to make sure that we're doing it. Now, we're reviewing this pair in bourbon here. Now, this pair has a rubber sole. This has got a Vibram, right? And it is a much tighter toe iron. Now, the toe iron is this part that goes around here. And you can see here, the way that it goes in, it looks pretty tight. Now, the last on this shoe and this shoe are the same. So not a big difference there. But the big difference is this has this Norvegese construction, where this is just regular hand welted. Now, this actually has a totally different last on it. Same shoe, different last. And this has a leather sole, and the leather sole is very, very tight to the edge, and it has a very different look. So this one, which also has a leather sole that I put a toppy on, has this huge toe iron, and the reason for that, according to Enzo, is that it's because of this Norvegese construction and the way that they're sewing directly into the leather, that's the upper, here, and then they always give that extra room there. Now, a lot of guys who were in this group, this is a shoe that I designed, a lot of the guys in the group have either gotten rid of the shoes or had them sanded down because they were really unhappy with this particular aspect. Now, having as many shoes as I do, I've decided to keep it and stick with it, but it was a decision that I had to make, and one that I did not take lightly. So I just want to point that out. It took some getting used to for me, and so that's something to think about. Now, we're going to start off with the leather and the quality of the leather. Now, this is Horween shell cordovan. It is hatch grain. You'll notice that the hatch is different on each part of the shoe, and that's normal. Shell cordovan is usually going to have a lot of variety in the different pieces. But what I don't like necessarily about this is that the apron here has a very a thick texture, and here the texture is almost washed out, and that is not something that I really like. And as I look at it here, you can see that there's some nice color variation in the shell, which I do like, and the shell is behaving really well. So from that perspective, it's actually quite nice. Now, so now the other piece to think about is that I had this done with kid leather lining, and the kid leather is actually quite challenging because it's thinner, and where the this pair has calf lining, the shoe actually fits a little bit better. Now, I had these adjusted for my pinky toe on my right foot, so it had a little bit more room, and that's fine, but never really been quite happy with the way they fit. Never decided to go for a real custom last. I just have the one adjustment, but it is something that has been a thought for me as well. Now, the other last seems to fit quite a bit better. Now, the one thing that I will say as I look at quality on here, I'm really unsatisfied with is this area right here, and the way that this is different on each shoe. Now, I have a number of Norvegese shoes, and I do not like the way this piece of leather sticks out quite so far from the edge of the shoe. I chose to have this in a brown color, But when I showed the picture of these shoes when they were brand new to a shoemaker, he looked at this and said, I can't believe Enzo let that out of his workshop. That does not look like linen stitching. Now, it probably is linen and it's probably just been dyed, but I don't know that. And I certainly don't know that as well as the shoemaker who looked at it does. But that is a challenge for me. And this part here, where the seam is and the two pieces come together and right here, this does not look clean to me. This looks like shoddy craftsmanship. So when I bought these, I had decided that I had had enough of Enzo and I wasn't gonna buy any more. And then the guys came along with this opportunity here, and I decided to give them another go, a last go, as it were. And I'm so happy with these that I'm kind of back on the fan wagon, if you will. But this right here and the way that this looks, the toe iron too, but not as much of the toe iron as just the way that it looks on the leather itself. Really not a fan. Now, this is bourbon. From a color perspective, it is bourbon, and so one of the things that I'm probably going to do is I'm going to spend some time with some black shoe polish. Now, I use a specific kind of polish. I use Pure Polish. It's a water-resistant cream. I'm going to use the black in order to darken the texture. Because if I can get the black into all the little grooves, I think that this will make the texture look a lot better. So that's something that I'm planning on doing. Now, I did notice these heels are not pitched at all. They're also, because I had the soles quite so big, they're enormous heels, and I'm not a big fan of those. Now they are, you can see here, really thin, which is nice. They don't look thin from the outside here, which I think is interesting. But it's to me, it's too big a heel. And, you know, they had to put a big heel block on the outside here at the top left, because I had this rubber on this side. Now, the work that they did on the toe plate, these holes are recessed too much. I like them to be smooth, and these are recessed almost like the whole screw. So kind of an interesting thing there. So fit-wise, we kind of covered that. The extras, we talked about the toe plates, we talked about the construction, we talked about the lining. Trees are great, but those are just trees. At the end of the day, I just feel like these are as close to clown shoes as I'm gonna have in my collection, and that's the only way I can look at it. Is these things remind me of the stupid shoes that we had to wear when I was playing basketball and we were trying to strengthen our calves, and I don't know that I'm ever gonna get over it. So I haven't removed them from the rotation. When I wear them, they're fine, but I don't know that this is a shoe I'll wear in front of my clients. I think I'm a little self-conscious about it. So probably these are ones I'm going to let go. But you know, for $1,200, it's a heavy mistake. So, you know, as you're looking at doing an MTO and you're considering what you want, be cautious and do your research. You know, as I look at pictures on Skoti Bolligay and others where they're showing Norvegese examples from Enzo Bonafe, they all have this big toe iron, and I didn't notice it in the pictures, but man, now that I own a pair, I cannot stop looking at that. So not the best review for them. Normally I've been a huge fan of this brand. I think this is, I'm up to 6 pairs, including a pair of boots, which I love. I'm not sure how much of it is just mental because of this problem right at the toe on the leather and then these big toe irons. But for me, that's the way I feel, and I got to report it the way I feel. So thanks for watching. I'm anxious for your feedback in the comments below.